Well, hello, welcome in week 2, Tiffin University football. The Dragons entering the second week of the football campaign. Coach Gary Goff showtime. Sitting right next to me on my left, I'm Russ Snyder, voice of the Dragons. Thank you so much for joining us out here at Buffalo Wild Wings and at WTUD, TUDragonRadio.com. Coach, how are we doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Not doing too awful bad. And I'd like to welcome all of our Dragon fans who are in attendance out here at BW3s. Our coaches, we got students, we got players. We're going to have a student athlete join us on the program tonight, as well as his position coach, Mr. Steve Gilbert. We'll leave the suspense on who that student athlete is coming up a little bit. But it's week 2, Coach. They say a lot of times you learn a whole lot about your team, maybe the most you learn about your team between week 1 and week 2. Is that the case this week?
Yeah, I think so. You know, if you are a college football fan, you saw a lot of games played over the last weekend. You saw some great teams that, you know, got off to a slow start.
Yeah.
You also saw some teams that played great football, but it's always a telltale sign week 2, those improvements. Can you cut out those mistakes and see how much better the team can actually play on Saturday?
Well, this past first week we didn't play on Saturday. We played on a Thursday night up against a team come into the season ranked number 3 in most of the preseason polls, and Grand Valley State University really showed why they are a top-rated team. They got to be one of the better teams in the country. They played a pretty darn good football team against
Well,
them.
you know, they don't hand out the third ranking in the country for no reason.
That's
I promise
right.
you that. But, no, they're a very talented football team, you know, and they made very few mistakes. And, you know, we did at times. You know, it was a big stage. It was a big-time game for us. But, you know, we got to learn from those mistakes and move on. So, you know, it was a tough loss for us, but there was a lot of good things that still happened once we got back and kind of dove into the film.
Yeah, I was thinking about it myself here a little bit. You know, you have the yin and the yang, really. You have a Grand Valley State team first week, and then you have Davenport, a startup program here in week 2. And this is a game that on paper you'd think the Dragons should be able to get. So, you know, this is hypothetically thinking, if we get the win this Saturday, you kind of look at it then and say, okay, let's clean slate now. Let's go with the 9-game schedule.
Well, I think you got to build off what your performance was the first week, that's for sure. But, you know, we'll get into Davenport a little bit later, but don't let them fool you. You know, they're a very talented football team. They got a lot of transfers. They play extremely hard. So, you know, we have not looked at it as a coaching staff or with the guys as, hey, we're going to go out there and this will be an easy win for us. Not at all. And that's why you play the game. So there's not a whole lot of reading between the lines for us when you look at the paper and say, oh, well, we should handle them. Because on paper, they're very, very talented and they play hard.
They went out and shut out a team last week on the road, and it doesn't matter who you're playing. You go on the road and shut out a team and put up that many points. You did something right on that Saturday.
Exactly.
Yeah, Davenport, as we said, coming in this game 1-1. We will give you a full look at Davenport later on in the program, but we're going to talk to Coach Goff here about his coaching staff and his players. And one of your coaches that's going to come on the program here with us. Many people in the Tiffin area are very familiar with this gentleman, Mr. Steve Gilbert. Tell us about Coach Gilbert. He's been on the staff here for a few years now.
He's been with us for a while. I tell you, Steve is a lot of fun to work with. You know, he's got a running joke that, you know, he's getting younger as these years go by, and I'm getting older. So, you know, he likes to stand beside me and take a before and after shot. But, no, Steve is a great addition to the staff, and, you know, he's got a lot of knowledge. He knows everybody in the state, I promise you that. So
yes, he does.
He helps a lot with recruitment. But, you know, Steve is the one guy on staff that almost everybody goes to for advice, no matter what it is.
Well, isn't that usually the grandpa figure?
I wasn't going to say that because I didn't want him mad at me. You said that, Russ.
He's been mad at me before. I don't think he's going to be mad at me anymore. But yeah, Coach Gilbert's going to come on the program. One of his student athletes is going to join us as well, a young man who's been a big contributor for your team for over his 4 years here with the Tiffin University Dragon program. And let's just talk a little bit about last week's game. When you go back and look at the film, let's talk about some of the positives you were able to pull out of that game film from last week.
Well, you know, the opening drive, we marched right down the field. We had a call, you know, didn't quite go our way with Tyler Denton made a nice catch. It really looked like it was in bounds.
It was hard. We had the video replay in the booth, and I was watching it, and the screen was just, you know, off enough where I could not tell if he was in or not. It was so darn close.
That jumbotron, though.
Oh, jeez, that jumbotron. Yeah, that thing's huge.
But that stalled that first drive. Yeah. You know, we got all the way down there into the red zone.
That changes everything if you score there.
Well, I wouldn't say change everything, but it was definitely we had momentum right there.
Right.
You know, and we gotten several first downs, converted the third down, and got right down there in scoring position. But, you know, I think we had a false start right there that backed us up, and we ended up punting. And from that point on, you know, our defense had some really good series there, and then they got an easy score. Then we stalled that first half, and I think coming out in the third quarter, our defense really played well. When you look back at it, I think offensively we started pressuring ourselves, and you know we can't do that. I mean, we can't go out there and worry about the score. We can't go out there and think we're going to win the game on every single play. And I really felt like we did that. So we got to learn from that. We understand that play the next play is the most important play,
right,
and play together. So kind of two opposite halves right there. And then, you know, once we got into the fourth quarter, both sides kind of, you know, knew what the outcome was going to be. So we've preached hard to them this week about playing extremely hard and motivating each other, because you're going to see adversity on the football field. I promise you that.
Yeah.
And like I said, we got to learn from those mistakes.
I think John Nelson was your leading tackler on the defensive side on Thursday. Excuse me. I think he had 11 tackles. I thought your young freshman linebacker Jacob Murtis did a few good things for you out there as well.
He did, you know, and it's hard to simulate game reps.
Yeah.
You can't replace game reps. So, you know, if you think about it, we had Jacob Murtis right there, and that was his first live game. You know, he was a redshirt freshman. You know, we had Ross Moore, same thing, our nickelback right there. He's a redshirt freshman. That was his first game. On the offensive side, we got two redshirt freshman offensive linemen. Same thing. That's their first college football game. So, you know,
talk about being thrown to the fire.
Well, and you know, trust me, we're not using that as an excuse at all.
No.
We think those guys are very, very good football players and going to be for some time to come. But it's still that first game, you know, and on that stage right there at Grand Valley, and they're ranked third in the country. That's a pretty big task for some of those young guys.
Those young guys able to take a nice big deep breath now and just kind of relax into it a little bit and just start playing football and don't worry about any other mess?
I think so. I mean, we stressed all week to them. It's about them going out there and enjoying the game, playing extremely hard, and trying to, you know, be assignment sound. So, you know, they got to understand the pressure of the world's not on them.
Right.
It's just a football game. We're not out there curing cancer.
Absolutely,
you know?
right.
And so go out there and enjoy the game and play as hard as you can. And if you do that again and again and again, the outcome will go in your favor.
How'd you come out of the game health-wise?
Came out very healthy.
Good. That's very important as well.
You know, we only had 49 snaps on offense, so that's
a little below a number that you would prefer.
Yeah, that's a lot low. You know, defense I think was just under 80, but yeah, nobody was really banged up. Extremely healthy, and you know, we had 9 games or 9 days off, you know, since that game.
Yeah.
So we've had a great week of practice, and everybody's got their legs back under them.
Does that Thursday game throw you off a little bit when it comes to your normal game prep, because you're normally into a fairly structured, you know, Monday we do this, Tuesday we do this, Wednesday, Thursday, etc. That extra few days, I guess it gives you a little more time to prep for Davenport.
Well, it might be more difficult on the coaching staff because, you know, you think about it like, you know, Sunday was really like our Tuesday and so forth. So we didn't know what day of the week it was all week, you know. But and then with school starting and all that kind of stuff, the players, of course, their routine is all out of whack. But, you know, this week, you know, again, having the extra days off going into this game, you know, I think allowed everybody, coaching staff, players, to kind of get back in the routine of, all right, you know, we got class here, we're off on Sunday, we got practice from this time to this time, we got meetings and weights here. So, you know, hopefully being back in the routine, it will help us all.
Yeah, I think sometimes college students, especially college student athletes, can be creatures of the routine, you know, creatures of habit. And like you said, getting back into the normal routine probably is going to do everybody very well, especially with not only the coaches but the players, because your scholastic part of it is as well. Not only your practice for football and your preparation for the games, but
we're welcoming the routine because we're tired of telling the freshmen, here's when you're there, here's when you're here. I mean, so hopefully after this week's routine, they're back on page, and then we stop getting the 1,000 text messages. Coach, where are we supposed to be?
What week is it where you, instead of telling them that, you start scratching your head and be like, how many times have I told you this? Are we to that point
now?
Oh,
it's this week. We're over that now. We just start punishing for not being there.
Well, why don't we go ahead and invite Coach Steve Gilbert to come up here and join us on the program. Coach Gilbert's been helping out with your running backs, and I'm sure he adds his, you know, he's been around football for quite a while. I'm sure he gets leaned on by the other coaches too. Hey, Coach, come over and take a look at this. You seen something different? I'm not. Does that happen to him in the film room?
It happens a lot. You know, he's coached just about every position. I really think, you know, his biggest enjoyment, though, is sitting back and laughing at me sometimes.
Yeah. Well, we all like that, Coach.
Well, when the headaches come across my desk, they're not coming across his anymore.
Right.
And being a long-time head coach like Coach Gilbert, he's seen it all.
Well, Coach Gilbert, thanks for joining us, sir. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm very excited about being here. Thank you very much.
Well, it's excellent to have you here, Coach. And let's talk a little bit about your running backs. You had Jaquan Hardy, young man. I thought he looked pretty nice there on Thursday night, getting some looks as a young kid. Talk about how you think your running backs responded there on the opening night, and especially, I guess, the young guys being their first action.
I thought our young guys played very well, but the key is they really have a great role model to follow with Jerry Brown. And Jerry, you
just let the cat out of the bag, and who's going to be on the show tonight?
But he set such a great example in practice, and these kids have watched him. But they came in ready to go. I mean, they're not your typical freshmen. They're mature, they're confident, and probably the thing that's excited me the most about them is they've really picked up pass protection. Mm-hmm. They really do a good job.
Well, that's probably one of the most difficult parts. I mean, most of these kids come out of high school, they want the ball shoved in their belly, and they just want to run with it. Pass protection has to be one of the biggest teaching aspects of your job early on.
And that's probably the most difficult thing to learn because they're not used to it. Mm-hmm. They just don't do that much in high school. You watch them on film, and you can watch them run. And every once in a while, you'll see them catching passes, but very seldom you see them, pass blocking. And they've really picked it up well. And the thing about it, they want to be good. They're just not there to play. They want to be really good players. Mm-hmm. And they're understanding their role in this offense. It's different. And I'm really excited about the future for these two guys.
Is that something, Coach, when you look at a young man, you look at his, you look at him running the ball as you're recruiting, but you're looking at footwork, you're looking at his hands. I mean, you got to be able to block. You see people on the talking heads on television talking about some of the great running backs. One of the things, if those guys are good blockers, that's one of the first things they bring up. So that's one of the things you look for when you're recruiting young men?
Well, like Coach said, it is, but you don't see that on film that much. Usually the running back is that high school's best football player, and they're putting the ball in their hands again and again. So the one thing we liked about both these young men is they're both very physical runners when we were recruiting them, and they're both big, strong guys, right. True freshmen coming in. Most freshmen you look at, we got to get them in the weight room for a few years before they can really help us. But these two guys have been very physical from day one. They have not shot away from any contact at all. And like Steve said, the best part about it, Steve's coaching them. And then when Steve walks away, we got a great leader in that group, Jerry Brown, who, has really taken them under his wing and has coached them. And that, I think, has helped their development and helped get them on the field that much faster.
We talk about usually it's the best player on the field in the high school level as a running back. I can harken back to my days broadcasting for the local radio station here in Tiffin. I went up and covered a high school playoff game at Lake High School between Tiffin, Calvert, and Macomb. And the best player on that football field on offense and the best player on that football field on defense was Jerry Brown. So I tell you that right now. I mean, he's here. We're going to bring him up here in just a matter of moments. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. He's the kind of kid, when you watch him on film as a high school player, you just saw a great football player. Not only a good running back, but you can see what he's doing on offense, on defense. He played with an edge to him, and he was one of those kids, like I said, no matter what side of the ball he was on, he was the best football player on the field when you watch him on film, I'm sure.
Oh, there's no doubt. But the thing a lot of people don't understand about Jerry, he's such a quality person. I mean, he has really embraced this leadership role. Like, if I need to get in touch with running backs, I send a text to Jerry, and Coach Goff's still shocked that I'm able to text some of them.
He just learned that this year. I don't know.
To do that being a college coach, but he's like my contact person with the other running backs, and it's just amazing. But how he handles himself on and off the field, and that's where the guys that really learn it from, how they behave off the field. He's just a great example.
Have you been able to lean on him, and were you expecting to lean on him with these new running backs in that leadership role coming into his senior year? I'm sure.
I'm sorry.
Were you able to lean on him, and were you expecting to lean on him with these new running backs, the young guys coming in because he's a senior, he's been through it, help everybody get through it?
Yeah, the key thing, Jerry's been that way since he reported as a freshman. I mean, he's very similar when he was a freshman to Jaquan and Kyle when they came in. They were confident, ready to go. Jerry was exactly the same way. I mean, he stepped on the field from day one. He says, hey, I can play at this level, and has just continued to develop. And, what kept Jerry ahead of everybody else was his ability to do all three things. He could run, he could pass block, he could catch the ball. And now these two young guys are following his lead and have really picked things up. And the whole group of running backs that we have, I'm really pleased with their progress, how they work at practice, how they carry themselves. They're good quality people.
Well, we invite Jerry Brown on up here. Jerry, where are you, sir? Let's bring Jerry Brown up here and join us on the program.
Our ongoing joke with Jerry at practice is, hey, Jerry, grab your kids and let's go to the next drill. So I'm kind of confused that he didn't bring the kids with him today.
Well, happy late Father's Day, Jerry. Happy late Father's Day as you're taking care of those kids he's talking about, your young kids.
Of course.
Well, welcome to the program. Thanks for coming on. We've had a chance to talk to you many times throughout your years here at Tiffin University, but let's talk a little bit about being your senior year, your last chance to put on the dragon green and gold here for a full season. How much does that mean to you?
Tremendously means a lot. I mean, coming in my freshman year, Coach Goff has changed this program around tremendously in the coaching staff as well. Freshman year, we went 2-9. In these past 2 seasons, sophomore year and junior year, I mean, we went 5-6, but we had great feelings at the start of the season and everything. But I mean, as the season goes on, wear and tear on the guys and everything. But I mean, this is my last shot. A lot of the senior shot. We have a big senior class, and I'm just expecting big things this year and leaving it all out on the field.
Most talent you've had on your football team this year as a senior, wouldn't you say, compared to the 4 years you've been here, all around talent?
Oh, most certainly. We have playmakers at receiver, offensive line got experience, but we got 2 guards this year, new freshmen. We had an offensive lineman go down with an injury during camp. But, I mean, Coach Goff says all the time, that's how football goes. Next guy's up, and he's got to step up.
Well, you're pretty familiar with this place, right? Aren't you one of the football players who started working out here at our local BW3s over the summertime?
I'm like, this summer, this was opening up. It was a great opportunity for us guys to stay here on campus and lift and work out with Coach Eisen, and then in our spare time come in here at B-Dubs and just make some money and pay some bills and whatnot.
I think he has stock in B-Dubs now. He's got stock.
Well, we've heard the people here talking about how great your student athletes were working here, and Jerry's one of those kids. I think there were 17 or 18 of you who were working here, and they loved you guys. They want you to come back as soon as the season's over. So that talks about you guys' character and you guys representing not only the Tiffin University football team, but the Tiffin University community out in the public in a great manner.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk a little bit about this young man, Coach, and what was it when you started recruiting him that made you, we talk about him being a good running back, but, you got to get to meet the family, all that. So talk a little bit about, if you can remember back then, since you're getting so old here. But think back a little bit about bringing this young man to campus, what it was about him that made you want him to be a Dragon.
It was kind of funny. I can remember going to a playoff game and watching him, and we'd watch him through the season, and we knew he was a good football player. One thing we loved about him is that he played so many different positions. He was a leader on the field. You could see his team rally behind him. But I'll never forget, we go to one of the playoffs games, and it's packed, and I walk up, and we're starting to watch the game, and this lady beside me is cheering top of her lungs, and I'm looking at her, and she's got his jersey on, and then the guy to the other side's cheering and yelling out his name, and 2 people in front of me are yelling the name. I'm like, God, everybody here loves Jerry Brown. And finally I said something to one of them, like, oh, well, this is his whole family.
This is the family section.
I happened to just walk up in the middle of the entire family and did not even realize it at the time. But
that was a sign.
Oh, it was a blast. Grandparents, everybody. But when he came on his official visit, we actually met in the president's cabinet room, and there was probably 20 chairs at this big long table. Jerry's family filled up every single one of those chairs.
They all came on your visit?
So I felt like I was giving this big presentation to this, some high school or something. But
well, usually you only got to sell a kid and the parents. Now you got to sell a kid and the whole entire family.
Grandma, grandpa, cousins, aunts, uncles. I mean,
wow.
And we did. We got him. But
right.
No, just a great young man. Coach Gilbert's already said, just high character young man. Jerry has got some hilarious stories that we can't really share right now.
We have some about him we can't share too.
Yeah. They're innocent mistakes as a young freshman, but been a lot of fun to coach. He definitely is one of our leaders. A lot of people look up to him, but I really, really enjoy being around him and his family. Just really good people. What's his strength as a running back, Coach Gilbert? What's on the field? What's Jerry Brown's strength?
I think the big thing about Jerry is he's a patient runner, and he understands where the hole's going to be. He's not one of those kids that just takes off. He analyzes things, but he's well prepared going into every game. He knows our game plan. He knows all the checks and balances, everything we want to do. But he's a very intelligent football player. I think it's always been Jerry's strong suit, besides his physical ability. It's how he approaches the game mentally.
Did you put any personal goals on yourself before the season started, Jerry? Any personal goals?
Can you say that again?
Did you put any personal goals on yourself at the start of the season this year?
My biggest goal was last year, at the end of the season, I kind of made a mindset that every third and short we had, I would want to run the ball and get the first down and keep the offense on the field and score.
RUN. Run. Remember we talked. Coach Goff bringing a running back up for his first student athlete. It was a bit of a surprise to me here. But what is it like being a running back in that air raid offense?
Honestly, throughout high school and everything, I I got the ball and got to run a lot. But a big thing that changed, like, opened my eyes with college football is a running back just doesn't run the ball. They also have to be able to block also. And coming in my freshman year, I had terrible blocking technique. I mean, there's a couple times, but Coach Nugo's my freshman coach. We were just sitting in meetings like, Jerry, what are you doing? I did not teach you this. You're going to get yourself hurt. I'm like, after a couple of years going on and just practicing my technique and everything, I'd say one of my best strengths is being able to pass block.
Would you agree with that, Coach?
Oh, absolutely. And the nice thing about Jerry is you can correct him one time and he's going to pick it up. You know, but God, I can hardly remember those freshman years when we were yelling at you for pass pro.
Didn't he have some crazy blonde? Did you have crazy hair when you were in high school? I remember I think a bunch of kids on your high school team were all kind of goofy. You guys had a fantastic high school football team, though, when you were over there at Macomb. They had a pretty good program over there.
Oh, yeah, Macomb has a great program. Actually, tomorrow night, they're playing Hopewell. It's right down the street. So
you'll be able to take it in?
I'll be go watching the Panthers, yep.
Awesome.
He'll be the celeb. He's kind of like, Newton on the sideline.
Yeah. They'll stop the game, and everybody will wave to Jerry Brown when he comes walking in.
A statue of him in Macomb. You can't miss it as you pull into town.
I think they'll change it to McBrown. I think it's going to change the name to McBrown instead of Macomb. I don't know. I heard something about that. But what's your plans after graduation, Jerry?
Well, I'm just trying to get my education right now. Probably like next semester, I'll have to come back for another semester and get my degree. And also my plan right now is to join the military afterwards. And then from there, my major is criminal justice. So I want to do something like federal agency or something like that.
Awesome.
Start off as a police officer or something.
Sounds like you got a pretty good plan in mind here, Coach.
That's awesome. I wish I could go back and do that sometime.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Jerry, when you look at this football game coming up here at Davenport, you've had a chance to watch a little film on them.
Oh, yes.
Tell us a little bit about what they like to do on the defensive end.
Say that again?
Talk a little bit about Davenport on the defensive side, since you, as a player's view on watching the film.
Well, Davenport, they're a pretty new program. Like, looking at the scouting report and everything, got a lot of young guys on the field and everything, which they're going to be an experience, but we got to treat every team as, like last week we played Grand Valley, obviously, big powerhouse school. We got to just treat everyone like Grand Valley. Can't go in the game, low steam, play down to our level and everything, but Davenport's defense, their linebackers move around, their defensive line, they get off the ball pretty well. But, we're going to go out there and it's going to be a dogfight.
Well, we asked these guys about you and some of your strengths.
Okay.
How about these guys? Let's talk about Coach Gilbert as a coach first.
Careful, Jerry. Careful, Jerry.
Not to get you in trouble, but talk about Coach Gilbert and what he's meant to you as a running back in your position, Coach.
Oh, yes. Well, all growing up and everything, I've really never had a true running backs coach. Coach Nugi played quarterback, but he knows his stuff, obviously. We had a Coach Cockerham my sophomore year. He's never played football before, but he was a good guy. And then Coach Gilbert, he's been around the game of football, 47 years now? And if he tells me anything, I'm not going to argue with him, obviously, because, he gets vicious when he gets mad, but it's a rare occasion when he gets mad.
Then don't make him mad, right?
That's right. You don't want to see this man mad.
All right. Let's talk about your relationship with Coach Goff here. He's been your coach here at Tiffin University since you got here.
Coach Goff, I respect him very much as a man, as a coach also, as well. Great morals, just really the football program. At first I looked at it as just being a football player, but Coach Goff, he's just not trying to make us become good football players, he's also trying to make us into great, well men. Just on the football field and also off the football field. Carry yourself and your character and everything. So.
Anything else for this young man, Coach?
No, I wish we had him for 4 more years.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I always said if we had a team full of Jerry Browns, we'd go undefeated.
I hear you, man. I hear you. His name's Jerry Brown. He's running back for the Dragons, senior starter. And thank you so much for making time for us here, Jerry. You're welcome to hang out here as we talk about Davenport. Or if you want to get away from the camera, you can take off too. But we're now on time, Coach. We need to start talking about Davenport. That's who our opponent is this weekend, and they come into this game, as we said, 1-1. Got a big shutout victory last week. Let's start with them on the offensive side. Hunter Cross is their quarterback. He threw for almost 303 touchdowns and a pick last week. But let's talk a little bit about Hunter Cross, their quarterback.
Yeah, they like to spread it around a good bit. Young man's from the Cincinnati area. Coach Edwards, knew about him in the recruiting phase. He graduated early and has been on Davenport's campus now for quite some time. But he's very talented. He's got a strong arm, and they're going to give us multiple sets and a lot of different looks. So we got to make sure we defend the pass and run because they're trying to create mismatches in both areas there. But he's offensively, they got not only him, a young man that can throw the ball very good, but they've got a couple of transfer receivers that are very, very talented. And then they got their starting running back last week. I think he had 4 rushing touchdowns. So, we'll have our hands full right there with those guys on the offensive side.
Yeah, Mike Ivey, I think, is the running back you were speaking of. Yeah, he ran ball for 107 yards, 4 touchdowns as well. All right, how about on the defensive side, Coach? Davenport didn't have a shutout last week. Didn't step up in competition for him this week on the offensive side. I'm sure you have many more athletes than what they faced last week, but still got to do something right if you go out and shut somebody out.
Oh, absolutely. It's very difficult to shut somebody out. But, if you look at their stats and everything, I mean, they really manhandled Kentucky Christian. But, same thing. They got several transfers. They're predominantly a bunch of redshirt freshmen who have some talent. But, they got a corner transfer from Duke University that's got good size and good speed. They got a linebacker. I think he's going, 24 tackles on the season right now.
Yeah, they have guys averaging double figures.
They're active. They're going to give you different fronts, and they like to stun a lot up front. So, again, it's going to be a dogfight for us, like Jerry said, and we got to go out there and protect the football and worry about moving the chains, one first down at a time.
Home opener this Saturday for the Dragons, 1:30 start, and it's Family Appreciation and Military Appreciation Day down at the stadium. So bring all the family. If you're a veteran, come down and your mission will be taken care of, and there should be we'll put you out on the field at halftime and recognize you for all the service that you have given our country, and should be a great atmosphere as long as the weather stays off. It's going to come in. It's going to come in late Friday night through early Saturday morning, clear up around 10:30, 11. Give us a couple hours to get dried out. I'm just wishful thinking, Coach.
The weatherman in Ohio is never right. But he'll be right this Saturday. So we might as well go ahead and get in our mind it's going to be a storm out there. And
would you have to prepare differently because of that? I mean, when you're practicing during the week, do you have to prepare differently because of those type of situations? I mean, you have to keep your eye on the forecast, I'm sure.
I mean, we talk about it. We do some drills with wet footballs and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but
ball safety.
We're also very fortunate. We went inside. So it starts raining. We went inside. Had a great practice today. So.
Awesome. Well, Coach, like I said, I'll get started this Saturday. And don't forget, folks, you come out here on Thursday nights for the Coach Gary Goff Show. Everybody wear your Dragon gear, and a portion of your bill will go back to Tiffin University and help support our coverage of Tiffin University athletics. And next week, we got a football game next week. Then it's going to be a real busy week for us leading up into the homecoming week. And conference play, getting right back at it, and there's no rest for the weary, Coach. It's just
it's the season now.
No, it's time to get up and get it. Pro football starts this week. It's football for all over the place right now. That's the way we all love it, and that's the way we all want it to be. Isn't that right? All right. Well, Jerry, Coach Steve Gilbert, Coach Gary Goff, thank you guys so much for your time. Appreciate you guys coming on, and as always, go Dragons. Looking forward to this coming Saturday, 1:30 kickoffs. We said you can catch it at Coast Country 100.9, WTUD, TUDragonRadio.com, as well as free live video at TUDragonRadio.com. Thank you guys so much, and as always, go Dragons.
Thanks, Russ.
All right, thank you, everybody. This has been the Gary Goff Show, coming to you live from Buffalo Wild Wings right here in Tiffin every Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. Thank you, everybody.